Damn, I need some fucking water. Ugh. Alright, fuck it. Hoo hoo hoo. Alright. Yeah, no, I need water. This is fucking bullshit. 1 second. Alright, guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness, and welcome to my review of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. This one came out in 1987, starring Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp, and Patricia Arquette, and was directed by Chuck Russell. Now, damn, we're right out of the gate with this shit. Anyways, so I just gotta say right out of the gate, this is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street so far, man. I mean, unless I get super surprised by like a later entry beyond these first three, I haven't watched the Nightmare on Elm Street series in years. I'm talking like the Dream Master. I don't think I've seen since I was 14, 15, 16, around there somewhere. So it's been a really, really long time, dude. I usually stay within these three, and as far as these first three are concerned, Dream Warriors is my fucking favorite, man. So unless, one of the other ones just completely knocks my socks off, which I don't see happening, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street, dude. Which is kind of a spoiler for the ranking video I'm going to do eventually. But goddamn, man, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, it fixes all the little and big problems I had with the first two Nightmares, and just the story overall is fucking awesome. Again, I won't go into it too much in this section, at least. Obviously, spoiler section is what that is intended for. But anyways, excuse me. I love the direction of this one. I love how this movie's just very tight. Like, I think it wraps everything up in a nice little bow, and I think if the Nightmare movies had ended here, it would have been fine. Obviously, in the 80s, fuck that, we need to make 20 of them, but, I could definitely see, with how this movie wraps up and everything, I could see this being a very, very good ending to the Nightmare series. We get a lot of exposition on Freddy and his character and where he comes from. And yeah, man. Also, I have to, again, commend Robert Englund on another awesome fucking performance. And another big reason why I love this movie is Freddy. I think we have the perfect blend here of horror and being a very, very scary villain, and also being funny as shit. He is not a cartoon character by this point. He is not corny as all fucking get out, as I'm sure he will become in the later sequels. But nah, man, this is like the perfect blend. This is the perfect Freddy. As much as I love straight-laced horror Freddy from the first two, he has a couple little lines here and there, but here he's popping them off, man. It's fucking funny, and he's fucking scary. I really, really like it, dude. And yeah, man, like I said, there are some small errors here or there. It's inevitable. Some logic stuff again, but compared to the first two, they're very, very, very minor nitpicks. And there's nothing about this movie that I would just overtly say is wrong or bad or anything like that. It's just the shit that any mark would say about a movie, like, "Ooh, why did this happen?" And while some of that may be warranted, no movie is invincible from those things. I just don't think it really matters. This movie's fun as hell. It's scary. It's everything you would want a Nightmare movie to be. I strongly recommend it if you haven't seen it. And if you have seen it, then let's just go ahead and spoil the shit out of this motherfucker. Let's get into the spoiler section. Alright, spoiler time. Your ass has been warned. Now, let's just hop right into it here, man. Breaking tradition here with the intro. First two Nightmares start out with a nightmare. And this one doesn't, man. It takes a little bit of time before we get there. We get Kristen, who I would argue is our main character of the movie. Yes, I'll just say it now. Nancy does come back in this movie. But, you know, I would argue that Kristen's our main heroine for the movie. Is that right? She's the main character. Anyways, moving on. So she's sitting there, just trying to stay awake. Is not quite like she's stumbling, dude. And I've been there, man. Back when I was in college, which was years ago. I would be staying up for final exams. I remember I was writing a script for script writing class, and like I was just as if, you know, why do people give a shit? But anyways, I was sitting there and I was writing this fucking script, and like, dude, I stayed up all night, all fucking night. It was bad, man. I was drinking coffee and shit. This lady though, man, she goes to the extreme, dude. She has coffee grounds that she is spooning out of a fucking jar and just putting in her mouth and downing it with a Diet Coke. I'm like, holy fuck, man. That's intense shit, but, you know, when a dream demon's trying to kill you, you're going to do whatever you can. I get it. But yeah, man, so her mom eventually comes in and puts her to bed, and then we get our first nightmare sequence, and holy fuck, dude, the nightmares are better than they've ever been. They're like the best they've ever been, is what I meant to say. Like, goddamn, dude, just the imagery here with the little girl and the tricycle and all the fucking, just having Nancy's house be the core of this. And that's something I forgot to mention, is the art project she was working on was a paper mache version of Nancy's house, which this girl, Kristen, has been fucking dreaming about. And so she gets transported there in the nightmare realm, world, whatever you want to call it. And she's running around, and like I said, just amazing fucking imagery, dude. Such good shit. We have corpses hanging from the fucking ceilings and shit. And I love how they utilize Freddy in this. They don't just outright, boom, show him. Very Jaws alien-esque approach, at least in the beginning. We see Freddy in the movie. But just kind of showing him in the shadows, running around. Like you see him at the end of a long hallway, and he's kind of obstructed by the shadows and shit, so you can't really see him. Just really, really cool, creepy imagery. And that's what I'm saying, man. It's the perfect Freddy. Like, yeah, he has the funny one-liners and yada, 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 which he would later become more known for than being a horror villain, unfortunately. But goddamn, dude, he is fucking scary in this scene. And in this whole movie, I fucking love Freddy. Just in general, I love Freddy. But anyways, so he... you know, they're running around. We get all those hanging corpses. And she actually picks up this girl to rescue her, which I don't know how you wouldn't think that that's just a fucking plot. A way for Freddy to fool you, but, you know, whatever. And actually, with the later power that she is revealed to have, I could see maybe how she accidentally pulled someone in or some shit. I don't know. Anyways, you shouldn't really think about this too much like I do. Just have fun with it. So she's running around with this fucking kid, and all of a sudden the kid goes, "Stop, you're hurting me." And she looks at her, and the kid's just a fucking skeleton. It's like, oh my god. Then we get a little bit of dreamception where she wakes up, and she goes to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden the sink, the faucet handles, like, come to life. And one of them has the 4 claws coming out, and it's, you know, Freddy. And, dude, just fucking great, man. Such good shit. And then he slashes her wrist, and when her mom comes in, and, you know, she actually has a razor blade in her hand, which I thought was a little weird. Like, I mean, sure, she was sleepwalking, yada, 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 and sure, Freddy could have just influenced her to grab one at one point. It was kind of weird, but nonetheless, her mom walks in on her and she has a slash mark in her wrist. So yeah, off to mental help you go, young lady. In her mom's, you know, words, not mine. That's not the quote, but anyways, and her mom sucks, dude. Like, so we get sent to Weston Hills, and I will talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but dude, her mom fucking blows. Like, her mom sucks. She's like, I know she's just doing this to get attention and yada, yada, yada. It's like all the shit that as a kid you don't want to hear your parents say. Like, not to get too personal here, but I've had my problems with mental health too. And thank the Lord above, my parents have never been like that. But like to just hear your parents say like, "Oh, you're just doing this for attention." It's like, dude, fuck you. She sucks. But anyways, so we get Weston Hills, man, and what a fucking cool setting. I love sanitarium or mental hospital type stuff. I love that setting for a horror movie. I think it's so eerie. And you could argue kind of the distastefulness of it and assuming that all people who go through those type of mental health bouts are, creepy. Sure, you can argue that, but it's still a fun setting, man. And if you go into some wings of those places, man, not that I'm speaking from experience, thank God, but anyways, moving on. So this is where we get introduced to some of our characters. We have Joey, who is not Joey, Philip, who is like a puppet guy. He makes like puppets and shit like that. And we get Joey, who's a mute. He does not talk. Very interesting too that he actually has. It's only for one like shot of the movie, for at least from what I saw. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention and it was faded out later or something. But in his opening scene, this dude has a fucking teardrop tattoo. Or if it's not a tattoo, I guess it's not. Wouldn't legitimately be a tattoo, but if it's not a tattoo, he just drew it on or something. And I don't know if you know what a teardrop tattoo means, but that means you fucking killed someone. So I'm like, fuck, dude, what is he in there for? But yeah, so he's a mute. Joey, Philip, Kincaid, who's just a very, very angry young man. Just a very loud, angry young man. He's like one of the people introducing Nancy actually to Kincaid. He lands in the quiet room a lot, so you won't be hearing a lot from him. And he goes, I do it so I don't have to look at your ugly face. And actually, funny enough, Max, who was the one introducing Nancy to all these characters, is played by Lawrence Fishburne, which I thought was really fucking cool. I knew he was in this movie already, but like it's weird to see big time actors like in these movies. Not to discredit anybody who's mostly known for horror roles, but for Lawrence Fishburne to be in this, I'm like, holy fuck. Obviously, this isn't like he didn't like take off with the Matrix and all that shit yet, but like it's still cool to see him here. But anyways, I'm kind of getting out of order. So we get introduced to a lot of these people. We meet Gordon as well, who is kind of their group therapist, just evaluating the kids and making sure they, just seeing how they're doing. They have group meetings and all this stuff. Some of the other kids we get introduced to is like Taryn and, I have them right here. Taryn, Will, and Jennifer. Taryn being a former drug addict. Will, who's like a nerdy fucking like D&D player. They're not for some reason they don't call it D&D here. They call it Wizard Master, which is like it's just funny. And then Jennifer, who wants to be on the big screen, man. She wants to move to Los Angeles and be on TV, as she says. Which, we'll get into that, but really, really cool shit here. And as far as the characters go, I really, really enjoy that they gave a shit. They actually gave these characters some depth, and there was some action. They felt like real people. So it's a horror movie. When a lot of them inevitably die, you feel something there. And yeah, no, this was not like expert Oscar-winning level character development or anything like that, and it doesn't have to be. But the fact that you give these people traits and defining features and, all that stuff, it it matters, man. It's cool. I always love seeing that, dude. Even if it's a little thing, man. It's like, okay, you're at least showing effort, which I enjoy. Also, Will's handicapped. I forgot to mention that, and that does play a pivotal role into his character later on. And speaking of solid characters and all of that, I really like that we get a little more exposition on exactly what Freddy is. Just hearing the nun who ends up being Freddy's mother by the end of the movie. Just hearing her talk about how this woman was locked inside of this now abandoned wing of Weston Hills and was repeatedly sexually assaulted by all of these maniacs, which is how, and Freddy was the byproduct of that. And, that's how he got the nickname, the bastard son of 100 maniacs. Just hearing that is like, holy fuck, dude. It's intense, it's brutal fucking shit, but it's pretty befitting of a character like Freddy Krueger to have that kind of an origin. It's like, oh my god. Ugh, shit. But anyways, man, again, jumping around, I love that Nancy's back. I like the fact that they brought her back for the third one. A lot of people think that you can just ignore part 2, and I never really got that, because, like, again, it might be just because I really, really like part 2 for what it is, but it's acknowledged in part 2. It said that, oh, Nancy went crazy, and then here in part 3, she's here trying to help these kids, and, trying to convince the doctors and all of that what's really going on here. And she even says at one point, she's like, hey, I used to be one of these kids. Meaning, like, she went crazy. So, I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, it's not a whole lot. It's not like we get fucking Jesse or anything in the movie, but it is still cool to see. Which I really would have liked if Jesse was here, at least a little bit. But I'm a part 2, Mark. What can I say? But yeah, man. And again, I like that clash in this movie between the kids trying to convince the doctors of what's really going on here and them just not having it. And eventually, Gordon does come around. A couple kids have died by this point, which we'll get all into that. And, they're thinking, oh, it's suicide, yada, yada, yada. Gordon's just denial. But eventually he gets convinced. And then we get the Dream Warrior shit, man, which I fucking really like. Is it cheesy? Yeah. Is it corny? Fuck yeah. But you know what? It's really fucking cool too. So it's discovered at one point when Kristen has another nightmare that she can actually pull people into her dreams, and the fact that she's been able to do this for a very long time. So they test it out at one point, and they all discover that they can have powers and shit. Will gets up and is like, I can walk in my dreams, and Taryn has this mohawk, and she has these fucking switchblades and all this shit. It's really cool. And Kincaid is like super strong, and it's like they basically just become like the Avengers, a very muted version of the Avengers, and it's really cool, man. Like I said, cheesy as all hell, but I like the fact that Freddy has a challenge now. Freddy has some opposition. People can actually potentially hurt him. Doesn't pay off too big in the final act, but it still is cool, man. And yeah, dude. So they eventually, Gordon gets fired after we have a little in that testing of them going into the dream world and all that. Joey wanders off, and we have a little scene. I'll describe it here because it's not a kill, and I really fucking like this scene. Joey's been kind of making eyes at a nurse, and he's like, and she is a very, very, very pretty woman, no doubt about it. I can't blame young Joey, but he has the hots for this nurse, man. And they're in this dream world, obviously. So she looks at him and is like, yeah, come here, big boy. And they go to a room. She gets naked. No complaints. Anyways, so she gets naked. Joey's fucking freaking out, like, oh god. And they start making out and stuff, and then her tongue, she starts fucking getting all angry looking and shit, and her tongue stretches out and is inside of Joey's mouth, And you're thinking, oh god, this kid's gonna get killed, man. And like her tongue just stretches out, and you're like, okay, it's Freddy. And so so he ends up getting tied to the bed with like tongues. Like he launches tongues out of his mouth and just wrist, ankle, ankle. And then the bed falls out from under him, and it's just this fucking chasmous pit of hell. It's just fucking really cool. And yeah, man, so they, Dr. Elizabeth Sims, whatever, comes in and finds them all just sleeping. And so she's like, yeah, we're putting a stop to this. Gordon gets fired. Joey's in a coma, which means he's basically Freddy's captive at this point. And yeah, man, so they end up finding a way to get into the dream world again. Kristen has been locked up in the quiet room, which means she's gonna fall asleep pretty fucking quickly. So they gotta do something. Nancy and Gordon end up finding Nancy's dad from the original, which was cool. Always nice to see John Saxon in a movie. Lieutenant Thompson. Really, really cool shit seeing him back. He's drunk. But, you know, he is eventually coerced into helping them, and the nun reveals to Gordon that you have to bury the remains of Fred Krueger in order for him to be laid to rest permanently. So that happens. Gordon and Lieutenant Thompson go to the junkyard where Thompson and the other parents dumped Freddy's burnt remains. And Nancy goes to Weston Hills to help the kids. And so they all go to the dream realm, and that's where we get a lot of the cool shit. We get, you know, Will being a wizard master, and like there's really cool imagery of this spiky wheelchair that Freddy's threatening him with, and like really fucked up dialogue too. And he's like, yeah, you can walk here, man, but when you wake up, and it's like, oh god, that's fucking rough. And you know, we get Taryn having a pretty solid fight with Freddy. I really wouldn't call it a problem necessarily, because you still need to have Freddy looking strong, to use some pro wrestling analogy. You gotta make him look strong, brother. Keep kayfabe alive. But I do wish they would have put up a little more of a fight, and I wish we would have gotten some actual clashing here. The fights he has with Taryn and with Will, they kind of just like that. Like they're done pretty fucking quick. I guess it's just because Freddy's been doing this dream shit for God knows how long. And, you know, they've only been doing it for like a day or two. So, I mean, I guess I understand it, but I wish we would have gotten a little more cool kind of fight scenes there and stuff. But for what we get, man, I really think it's fucking cool. So they end up going to rescue Joey, who is still trapped. At one point, they're in a hallway, and Joey discovers his power. Also, one thing I forgot to mention that was really, really fucking cool. Freddy's exposition of him, like, trapping the souls of his victims. And he, like, rips open his sweater. And it's just all these different screaming little faces on his burnt fucking body. I'm like, oh my god, dude. Such fucking good effects here, man. Really, really cool shit. But yeah, he eventually goes... We get some Army of Darkness imagery where Freddy transports his soul because his remains are being disturbed. So he goes to the junkyard, and he's a skeleton. It's just skeletal Freddy, and he has the claws. It's pretty fucking cool. For what it is. Yeah, again, a little bit weird logically, but at least this makes sense. But at least, you know, you can believe this way more than just a bird bursting in the flames for whatever fucking reason. Shout out to part 2. But anyways, but yeah, man, I really, really like that little fight we get. He launches Lieutenant Thompson into a fucking just stray piece of metal in this junkyard and kills him, which is like, holy fuck. And yeah, dude, eventually he kind of wastes both of them. Gordon doesn't get killed, mind you, but he gets fucked up pretty bad. So Freddy goes back to the dream world, getting ready to finish them off. They're in a hallway. Joey discovers his power that he can, talk. And so he yells, and it breaks all the mirrors that Freddy's fucking with him in. Like, there's really good shots of him, like, reaching through mirrors and grabbing their ankles and dragging them into mirrors and shit. Joey ends up screaming, breaks all the mirrors. They're like, oh my god, it's over. Yippee-day, yippee-da. And I'm like, They go through a door, and then the soul of John Saxton comes out, Lieutenant Thompson. And he basically tells Nancy, like, hey, I'm dead. Sorry. But she ends up hugging him, and they have some nice little relief, and you're like, ooh, this is a little fucking corny. And then Freddy eventually, it's Freddy, so he sticks her with the claws, man. He sticks Nancy with the fucking claws. He finally got her, dude. And yeah, man. Nancy just straight up fucking dies, dude. It's like, holy fuck. Like, it takes a little while. Like, the stuff I'm about to talk about, Nancy dies after all of this, but it's like, that takes balls, dude, to kill your main character from the first fucking movie. And she's dead, dude. Like, she does not come back or anything, to the best of my knowledge, in these next movies. I know she's in New Nightmare as the fucking, Heather Langenkamp, but dude, Nancy's dead. And I'm like, holy shit. But yeah, man, so we get Gordon kind of making a comeback, doing his comeback spot. And he pushes Freddy's skeletal remains into a proper burial, the grave that they dug, and buries sprinkles holy water on it. Freddy's fucking freaking out in the dream world because, oh no, God. Like, he's fucking all freaking out and shit. And yeah, man, Freddy dies, dude. Freddy, in my opinion, this is the best Freddy death of the movies, from what I remember. I don't think anything's going to top this. And again, man, that's what I'm saying. You get finality there with Nancy and her character dying. We get the remaining Dream Warriors. It's just a good, solid ending, dude. Freddy has the best, most fitting end to him ever, is burying his remains, and that's it. Like, ugh, excuse me. But yeah, dude, like, the ending does not get better than this. I really, really feel like when I just go through and watch these movies, part 3 is gonna be it. I am not saying I'm not gonna like any of the other ones, but beyond this, I just feel like it's doing this story a disservice. Especially some of the directions we go, which I am familiar with. I'm not totally for them when it comes to this series, but anyways, I'll stop rambling about that and my head canons and all that shit. What I want to be canon and what I don't want to be canon doesn't really fucking matter because they make movies after this. But yeah, dude. So Freddy dies. We get a cool little funeral spot for Nancy, and then it is revealed Gordon kind of wanders off, follows the nun, and it's revealed that she was Amanda Krueger, the mother of Freddy Krueger, and yeah, dude, she was a ghost, which makes sense. And that's like, oh shit, so I guess Gordon was having some, I don't know how that happens. I guess it's just paranormal shit. Again, you can't think of it too much. But yeah, dude, overall, man, I really, really like Nightmare 3, man. I think it's the most solid Nightmare movie we have up until this point. It has its flaws. It has its like, well, what the fucks and all of that jazz, but there's really not a whole lot about this movie that I can honest to God complain about. I think we have a really, really cool movie here, and I absolutely 150 fucking percent recommend you go see this. And yeah, man, without further ado, we still gotta get into the blood, the guts, and the gory bits. We gotta get into my kill of the film. Stick around. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is my favorite Nightmare movie so far. No doubt about it. I fucking really like this movie. And one thing that I really, really like about it is so far we have the best kills in the franchise so far. This one was tough, dude. This was really, 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 really tough. Because we have some fucking bangers, dude. Right off the bat, man. First kill, Philip getting kind of marionetted around. Freddy appears to him in his sleep, obviously, and slashes open his arms and his legs, then pulls out his tendons and uses them as like marionette strings and puppets fucking Philip around the hospital. I'm like, oh my god. And you get fucking close-ups on his feet and shit. And then all the kids wake up and they're like yelling at him because at this point he's up in this big tower and they're like yelling at him, don't do it, don't jump. Because they can't see what's going on. They just see that he's, fucking sleepwalking. A little weird that he just phases through a door at one point. I'm like, what the fuck? But again, whatever. But it's a flaw. But anyways, this kill is still fucking amazing. Like I said, we get close-ups of the feet and the tendons just fucking sticking out. You're like, oh, fuck. And then, yeah, man, Freddy's just like, there's just this giant Freddy Krueger above this tower, and he's marionetting him around, just takes his fucking blades and just, and he goes tumbling down, dude, and fucking falls to his death, and you're like, shit. Like, that's pretty fucking rough. I noticed a little bit as like, well, if he slashes his arms, wouldn't that show in real life? Like I said, we got some fucking flaws in there, man. I'm not gonna not talk about them, but I would discount my credibility, because I have just boatloads of credibility at this point. But anyways, still, no matter what, just like the fucking Johnny Depp kill in part 1, logic be damned, it's still a really fucking good kill. I love Taryn's kill of just playing off the fact that she's a former drug addict. Really fucking brutal kill, though, for a recovered addict. I'm like, oh my god, that's just mean. But it really cool imagery with Freddy's, actually both of his hands are become like syringes. Like his fingers, he has a syringe on each finger. And he's like, let's get high. And he fucking sticks her with him and, her fucking face starts bubbling up in veins and shit. You're like, oh god, that's a pretty fucking brutal way for a character to get killed off, especially if they're a recovered addict. You're like, damn. Also, really shout out to the imagery of her like track marks being like little mouths and just like, you're like, ugh. It's the little shit with nightmare movies that I love, like the little creepy details that are just, it makes it, dude. It fucking makes it. Will's death is kind of lame. I mean, it's cool, but he just gets stabbed. I love the line though, because he's like doing all these wizard spells on Freddy and shit, and it's kind of having a little bit of an effect on him. But then he just picks him up and he fucking holds him there like Kane. And he's just like, sorry, kid, I don't believe in fairy tales. And he fucking sticks him. It's an alright kill, but I do love that line. Get some other really good shit here. Obviously, Nancy's death, while it's not the most like impactful visually, like just the fact that Nancy Thompson fucking dies is like, holy shit. And there's a lot of weight there, which is good. But dude... how can I not give it to fucking Jennifer, dude? Like, her just sitting there, Lawrence Fishburne, she convinces Lawrence Fishburne to let her stay up a little longer. She's just sitting there burning herself with cigarettes to keep herself awake, and she's watching this talk show, which I love the interviewer who's like, can I ask you a question? And the lady's like, yeah, sure. And he just goes, what? Who gives a fuck what you think? And it's Freddy, and he fucking, that's all cool. Then she gets up to go turn the TV off, and then just arms pop out, like weird robotic, wiry arms pop out of both ends. And then grabs her, picks her up, and then Freddy's head just pops up out of the top of the TV, and you're like, oh my god. Really cool throwback to part 1 there with him, like, phasing through something. part one it being a wall, and part two it being a human body. But anyways, really cool imagery of him just coming out of the TV. And then he do that awesome fucking line, man. The awesome line. It's a big reason this is my kill of the film. He just go he's like, "This is it, Jenny. Your big break. Welcome to prime time, bitch." And then he fucking just shoves her head in the fucking TV. Dude, kill of the film, man. Like, not easily, because we get some awesome kills, but dude, that shit's fucking gold, man. You gotta love it. And yeah, man, that'll do it for Nightmare on Elm Street 3. My favorite of the franchise so far, and I'm gonna probably predict that by the time we get to the ranking, this will probably be number one. I really fucking adore this movie, dude. All loved part one and part two. I love those films, but dude, part three takes it. That being said, next time on Days of Darkness, we're not going to do a movie review. Because I said, I did mention on the Instagram page at Days of Darkness 97 that I want to do some different stuff too. And I've had like ranking videos and, you know, underappreciated films and all that jazz. And all that, you know, I want to do more of that. You know, I want movie reviews to be the core of this channel 100%. But I do like straying off and doing other topics. So next time on Days of Darkness, we are going to be talking about my favorite movie experiences from my life. It's a working title. I'll get it. We'll call it My Best Theater Experiences or some shit like that. Basically talking about like the best times I've ever had at the movie theaters. Something I really fucking miss. I'm very excited to get back to a movie theater. Speaking of which, once Halloween Kills does come out, I'm going to a fucking movie theater to see it. I don't care. I'm going to a movie theater to see it. Damn it. But anyways, guys, so be looking forward to that. We're obviously going to continue the Nightmare franchise, and I got some really cool movies in the works, man. Just a review in between those Nightmare entries as well. And yeah, man, guys, thank you as always for the support. I really fucking appreciate it. And yeah, that'll fucking do it. Guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep watching horror. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.